All right, let's go out to Indiana and talk to the Sarah with an H. What's up, Sarah?
That's the only way to spell it.
I can't comment. What's up?
I'm just enjoying this beautiful sunny day.
Fantastic.
Yes. How are you?
I'm enjoying a beautiful sunny day, too, except I'm locked in this studio here. What's up?
True. Okay. So I am looking for some help with the situation with my youngest daughter. I am wondering who can help me advocate for her. She is having to share a bedroom with her almost 11-year-old stepbrother at her dad's house.
Nope. Out.
Well, I agree with you. But let me tell you this. So simply asking her dad to make a change in room arrangements, which is where I started, it hasn't worked. And with other things that have come up, it seems that makes him dig his heels in even deeper in resistance because I asked.
Call your attorney. Call your attorney today.
Well, let me.
Okay,
tell you,
I'm getting all fired up about it. All right,
I know.
All right. I'll be quiet.
I get fired up too. So like having, when her dad. So let me tell you another. Can I just tell you another story, another situation?
Sure.
Okay. So, I have 3 kids. They're now 16, almost 14, and almost 9. And when the 16-year-old was 14, I found out that my ex-husband was letting him drive his Toyota 4Runner around public roads, like not down backcountry roads, not, in parking lots, like to and from church, to and from the grocery store. And I called my attorney at that because I pick my battles, and that to me was red waving flag. And I really felt like the legal system failed me. It just didn't go anywhere. And so this is why I'm asking you for help. And I hear you say call my attorney, but my experience when things have happened and there's another kind of other thing brewing too, I have asked him to not allow our almost 14-year-old. The girls both turned a year older in February, so they're very close. But he owns a golf cart, and he allows her to drive it around, and she drives it onto a busy road that goes between neighborhoods. I have jumped up and down, no. And I told her, no. I don't get anywhere with him. So I feel very powerless.
When you called your attorney, did you call your attorney as though you were calling the police, or did you call to alter the custody arrangement?
The attorney that I used a different attorney at that time than I did with my divorce.
Okay.
And she kind of treated it like we can't do anything because it's after the fact.
That's completely... All right, here's what I know. I know I have not, I'm going to be honest, I haven't read the data recently. Okay, it's been a couple of years. But I know that a significant amount of abuse comes from step-parents, stepfathers, and that extended additional circle, right? That non-blood circle. I do understand the tragedy that is letting a kid drive a car. Probably what I would do in the future is call the police and tell them there's a 14-year-old driving a vehicle right now and have the kid arrested and then it would go back to dad. But I tell you all that to tell you, because I'd much rather my kid get arrested. And by the way, they're not going to get in trouble. They're 14. The adult is the one who put them in the car. I'd much rather my kid get arrested than get hit. Right?
Yeah.
But all that to say, you have new information that your kids may not be safe. In those 3 instances, it is completely inappropriate for an 8-year-old girl to share a room with an 11-year-old non-biological sibling. Period. 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 You're not crazy, okay? You're not crazy.
I know.
It's never okay to let children drive vehicles.
Right.
Now, like the golf cart thing in these little golf cart neighborhoods that are popping up all over the place, that's a different conversation. We'll just have that conversation later. Let's just talk about the original one that you're talking. Like what you're telling me is the courts looked at the facts, gave dad custody arrangement A and gave you custody arrangement B. You all signed it and you left. Or the judge ruled on it and you left. Now you have new information.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape in our lives is totally different. I mean, we've been, we separated almost 5 years ago next month. I moved out, I bought a house. We've been formally divorced for 4 years. At that time, there wasn't anyone else in the picture. He pretty quickly got remarried and she brought 3 kids into the picture. So, there's 6 kids and 2 adults. And, I try to be respectful of my children. When they're here, I don't nitpick them for information, but when they talk to me about it, I listen very open ears. I think the thing with my daughter, the rooming non-biologically related children, and especially of different genders, that bothered me. Just if you put it down on paper, it's like, no. But she came into, when they all were at my house, she came into my son's room. We were all hanging out in there. And she just was ready for bed. She had on one of my t-shirts. It was just a long t-shirt. And then she came back in there and she had the shirt off and she was just wearing her underwear. And I was like, what's up? And she said something like, well, if boys can do it, girls can do it too. And I was just like, my mom's spidey senses just kind of went off. And I thought, that's different. That's weird. That's kind of not sitting right with me. And I just got the feeling of maybe because she's sharing a room with a young boy. And not to say that I don't think, and when I've asked her, she doesn't say that anything is going on, and I don't name him specifically. And they have gone over safe touch curriculum. They actually are talking about that in her school. But I'm also just not a dummy.
All right, Sarah, listen to me, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just telling you this from a parent of an 8-year-old girl. No.
Right.
And here's how I would handle this if I were you. You've been burned by the system before, okay? Or you feel burned. I don't know if the system didn't quote unquote failed you, but you made a call one time, no one did anything. They said, hey, it's too late. That is what it is. Fine. Here's how I would proceed. And you have to understand that when it comes to the health and safety of my daughter, I will burn it all down.
Yeah.
Okay? That's number 1. Number 2, if I've learned anything after talking with countless young women, I can't even count the number of women who sat in my office over 2 decades and told me things that happened to them as kids. It's haunting. Okay?
Yeah.
I would much rather you trust your gut and be wrong than trust your gut. Then have this feeling that something's not right. And then you're like, And so here's how I would handle it. I would tell my ex, I need you to know, I'm going to call everybody on planet Earth. Everybody. CPS, Child Protective Services, an attorney to try to get new custody arrangements. I'm going to call the police. I'm going to call the school counselor. I'm calling everybody. I'm also taking our daughter to a child counselor. Hopefully she's seeing somebody anyway about the integration with a different family. And you're going to ask for a forensic interview. Tell her I found out she is sharing a room with an 11-year-old boy that's a stepbrother. And suddenly things have just changed with her. Okay?
Yeah.
Also, I would contact the school and ask them to keep their eyes open. Okay?
Yep.
Now, let me ask you this. This is a very personal question. Have you experienced this before when you were a kid?
Yes and no. And let me just put it this way. I did not experience sexual abuse as a child. When I was similar ages, my brother and I were, my grandparents were visiting, and, so we got kicked out. It was like a family event, whatever. We got kicked out of our rooms. And so we were bunked up in a bed one occasion, and it was kind of like, what happens if we touch parts? So it's bothered me. Mm-hmm. He and I talked about it, and we both had that guilt and shame from that experience, mm-hmm. but I did not have any sort of repeated sexual abuse or trauma.
How old was he?
He was 11.
How old were you?
7. But I came to find out after that he, younger than that, when we lived in a different place, that he had been a victim of, from neighbors, that he had been sodomized and raped by kids in the neighborhood. And he had been through a lot of trauma that he still, it's something he has a lot of struggle with today.
But Sarah, he's not on the phone with me today. You are.
No, he's not. Yeah.
What happened to you was wrong.
For sure.
No. What happened to you is wrong.
Oh, and my ex-husband, he did.
Let me. You don't have to go into it all. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I do. And
okay, hold on. You know.
Okay.
So listen. The alarm's going off inside of you. Please listen to them. Okay.
They are. I also am just afraid of not because I don't want to protect my kids, but there's a part of me that is just afraid of taking on that battle with him because of the emotional abuse and all that went on in our marriage.
Sarah, if you don't stand up for your daughter, who's going to stand up for her?
I know.
What happened to you was wrong. What your husband did to you, your ex-husband did to you, was evil and wrong. And if you notice, I didn't tell you to take him on all by yourself. I told you to kindly let him know. I wouldn't say kindly, to let him know you're bringing in everybody you can. And I'm willing to accept any nonsense you want to throw my way, because what happened to me is not going to happen to my daughter.
True.
And maybe your alarms are more sensitive than others because of what you've experienced. Great. I'm still going to listen to them anyway.
Yeah.
I grew up in Houston where there were hurricanes all the time, and I'm the weekend after a bunch of tornadoes that just came through town here in Nashville. When the sirens go off, I overreact because I've been there.
Yeah.
Right? I've been there.
Right.
And a lot of people lost everything this past weekend, right?
Yeah.
And so it's not that my alarms were wrong. They just were off this time. Fine. But I would contact a therapist. I would contact the school. I would let him know if this boy isn't out of that, if they're not in different arrangements by the end of today, you're going to call Child Protective Services and let them know exactly what you've went through, what your daughter has said. And will it cause a stir? Abso-freaking-lutely. Will your daughter at 8 years old maybe say, Mom, I had to go meet with so-and-so and this, that? Maybe. Will your ex-husband talk crap about you to your daughter and she's going to repeat some of it to you? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
Well, I think that already happens.
It does. But I want you to ask the question, if you don't stand up for her, who will?
Yeah.
Who will? Okay?
Yeah.
Will you call a counselor by the end of today and set up an appointment for you and your daughter?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
Okay.
I have established myself and my other daughter already at a place, so
Okay.
I can do that. That is easy.
I want you to call and ask for a forensic interview because you think something may have happened. Okay? And you can tell them, I have my own childhood experiences with this, so I may be overreacting, but this stuff happened and every alarm I have went off. Okay? And I want you to, I mean, I wouldn't run from it. For the sake of my 8-year-old daughter, I'll burn it all down. And by the way, if you're my friend and I think something's going wrong and I ask you about it directly, I challenge you on it directly, my goodness, I hope you would be like, man, absolutely. I'm glad you were standing up for that 8-year-old girl. That didn't happen, but man, good for you. I remember a great story where a dad was carrying a kid into a store and the kid was kicking and screaming. And somebody walking out of the store stopped him and talked to the kid. And it ended up being that it was just a kid throwing a temper tantrum with a dad taking her into a store. But the dad, instead of getting mad and indignant, asked the stranger or told the stranger, hey, thank you for getting involved. Because if somebody ever happens to be taking my daughter into a store, trying to kidnap her or run away with her, I hope somebody will intervene like you did. Thank you. And if your ex-husband is such an utter scumbag that he'd rather bury his head in the sand or rather punish you by sticking her in that room and not picking up on the signs when she starts walking around with different clothes on, starts saying things that are very un-8-year-old, or maybe that's an 8-year-old statement, but it should be challenged. Man. I'm sorry, Sarah. Sorry. Call everybody.